Good afternoon, everyone. As Eddie said, my name is Matt Makai, and I am a developer evangelist with Twilio.
And I'm Don Goodman Wilson. I'm a developer advocate at Slack.
And if we could just get the screen switched over to the slides. This talk is R2D2 or Skynet, combining Slack bots with the Twilio API. Now, in this session, you're also going to learn not only about the APIs and about bots, but also some good practices around building bots. So I saw in Alex's talk earlier, he had some very specific examples of good and bad bots. You'll see a little bit of this here. Don's going to give you some of his advice on that. So back in March, Twilio launched Tutorials from Twilio. This is a new feature of the docs. And as a developer, I love this because you could go, and if you wanted to build something with Twilio, like you needed to add two-factor authentication, or you needed to build an interactive voice response IVR system, you could go to a tutorial that provided an entire code walkthrough, and then you could see it in whatever language you happen to be using. So as a polyglot developer, if I needed to build something in Java or switch over to Python, I could see it in the language of my choice. Now, this was launched by the Twilio Developer Network team, and it was a fairly small team. It depends on what size company you're coming from. There were about a dozen of us, and these are 8-bit avatars. Anyone who joins the Twilio Developer Network team gets an 8-bit avatar, which is kind of one of my favorite perks of the job. So with this team, we were able to launch the tutorials, but we found that there were some challenges in scaling our communications. Now, Twilio's mission is to empower developers to build the future of communications. We also use many other tools internally in order to accomplish that mission. One of those tools is Slack.
So Slack, we have a very similar mission. Slack is team communications for your business. And our business mission is to make, as you've heard already, make people's working lives simpler, more pleasant, and more productive. And so there seems to be a very natural fit between what Slack can offer and does and what Matt's looking forward to do on his team.
So when we launched the tutorials, we had some challenges scaling our communication, and we were only working with an internal team. So the question is, how do we scale our communications beyond just a fairly small-sized team? Now, it depends what company you're coming from. I'm sure many people have launched something themselves and also scaled that up to dozens, if not hundreds of people, some of whom are working for your organization, some of whom are not, internal and external people. So how do we scale that so that we're all on the same page working towards a common goal? Well, the answer is spreadsheets. No, it's not spreadsheets. We're developers. We are on the side of good. We want to rid the world of spreadsheets. We don't want to create more problems with spreadsheets. So we should be able to build some sort of helpful assistant, something that isn't too heavy-handed, that allows us to do our jobs, maybe gives us a little bit of guidance, something that helps us when things break along the way. I'm thinking something along this line as opposed to something along this line, something that's not too telling us exactly how we should be doing our job, just puts us in the right direction. Now we're in the bots track, and the question is, how could we use a bot in order to automate some of the communication issues that came up when we were doing a launch? And so I thought, well, maybe we could just tell a story about it. Maybe we can just talk about some other launch that we did and we used a bot for it. But rather than just talk about it, why don't we run a little experiment and launch something together right now in this room? So I'm going to see if we can get every single person in this room coordinated. And again, we all work for different organizations. Many of us have never met each other before. But maybe we can use a little bit of automation to help the job of speeding us through a launch in this 25-minute session, which we've already gone through a few minutes of. So we're going to launch something today. So the question is, what can we launch in a small period of time that would be useful? Well, we're often working in Slack. So Twilio uses Slack across the company. And we find that often it's easier when we're texting back and forth and using emojis for whatever. It's sometimes easier just to get on the phone and hash things out. And you can't just create a phone call. Like, you can't just call a number from Slack. But if we had a bot that could do that, that would actually be really helpful. Like, what if we just stand up a bot and it's like, hey, call these numbers or call these people, and all of a sudden we're on a conference call together. Twilio is great for that. So we're going to launch phone calls in Slack, and we're just going to have a bot that is going to do this. So this is going to be 3 pieces that we're going to launch in our session today. First thing, open source bot code. So anyone can take this code, they can stand this up and run it in their own organization. This is a Python repository. Feel free to rebuild it, take the code, do whatever you want with it. And we're going to also launch a blog post on the Twilio blog. And we're going to get a little social promotion with a Twilio tweet. Now, here's the help we would love to get from people in this session. First thing, we'd like to get some stars on this GitHub repository that we are going to open source. So social proof for developers that this is some code that might be useful. And want everyone to check out the blog post, make sure everything looks good. And we want some retweets on this tweet. Let's see if we can get this entire room to retweet this tweet. All right, so that's the setup. I need everyone to get out their phones, because we're going to use phones in order to coordinate this. So get out your phones and get ready to send a text message to a phone number. So I'm going to switch over into our Slack channel. Hopefully everyone can see. If you're all the way in the back, you may want to move forward a little bit, because it's going to be very difficult to read the text from this demo. So we've got a phone number that I need everyone to send a text to. The phone number is 415, and I'm going to make it large in just one moment. 415-689-6069. Let's make that large. So send a text message. You can send whatever you want. Hello, join, whatever. All right, and what you're going to see is our Slack channel is going to start filling up with avatars. So when you say hello, send some text message, you're going to get an avatar, a Star Wars avatar, that is based on a random Star Wars character, a cute little emoji, and the last 4 digits of your phone number so that you know it's you. This is going to allow us to allow all of you to join our Slack channel, which you don't necessarily have access to otherwise. All right. So this is running a bot that is going, there's some Python software that is allowing you to text in. So continue to text this phone number if you want to participate in the demo. Let's walk through how all of this works. Actually, let's first find out how many people texted in. So I'm going to ask our bot, hey, what's the launch count? How many people do we have in this launch so far? And my bot is going to, when it gets a chance, when it's catching up after all these text messages that are sent to it, is going to tell me the number of people that are in our launch. Wow, we got, oh, all right. Looks like we got a whole lot of people in this room. Let's make sure the bot is still working. Come on, Draw the Owl bot. You got it. All right, so let me actually send a text message to this. So one thing to note about the Slack API that may be interfering, as we have a lot of people texting in right now, is, and if you send 2 text messages, it's going to send another one, is that it's rate limited to 1 message per second. Ah, there we go. So the issue is that the bot was trying to post to the channel, and unfortunately, since it was already posting so many messages, it was a little bit delayed there. So now we're getting finally 2 messages out. So we've got 81 people participating in this demo. If you have not texted the number, go ahead and text that right now. Again, 415-689-6069. Let's take a look at how our bot works. Now, I said a message. I said, hey, Draw the Owl bot. What's the number of people that are a part of our launch? Now, Draw the Owl bot. Draw the Owl is a little bit of an inside Twilio meme. Also, one of our core values. The idea is we don't always know we know what we want to accomplish. We may not know the exact steps to get there. Just like we didn't know how many people were going to be in this room today, but we can figure out a way to coordinate our launch. So that's where the name Draw the Owl bot came from. The way that this works is that when everyone was sending a text message on their phone, they were sending it to a Twilio phone number. The Twilio phone number is then sending an HTTP post request to Draw the Owl bot. Draw the Owl bot's responding with something called TWIML. TWIML is a simple subset of XML that in this case was generated with the Python helper library, and that is sending a text message back to all of you. And then Draw the Owl bot is then posting a message to the Slack API. Now this is one of the important parts. So Don is going to explain more about how the Slack API works.
Thanks, Matt. So there are a lot of moving parts to the Slack platform. I want to mention a couple of them that are going to come into play in the bot that we're building here. And the first part of that is our web API. Our web API is an HTTP API of the sort that you're generally familiar with, but it's of an RPC style, remote procedure call style, rather than the usual REST style. So what we're doing every time we make a call here is we're actually changing the state of a Slack team somehow. Maybe we're just posting a message, but there are other actions that you can take as well that could alter the state of the team. And because of that, calls are not guaranteed to be idempotent or stateless. We are actually altering a shared state. So just something to think about. Don't expect REST. It requires an auth token. Everything that we're doing is going to require an auth token. The auth token gives you permission to make calls on behalf of a team. There are lots of different ways to get auth tokens. For the demo we're doing here, we're using a custom integration. We just requested a one-time auth token from Slack. Of course, you can set up your app using OAuth, so you can install it on multiple teams with multiple auth tokens and not have to worry about how you get those. Finally, all of our endpoints return JSON blobs. Minimally, they'll return something that says, OK, true, which lets you know that what you did succeeded at every possible level. So in particular, we're going to call two endpoints in our RPC API. The first is chat.postMessage. Chat.postMessage does what it sounds like. It posts a message into Slack. It's the most common API endpoint to use. It's also the most powerful. It gives you lots and lots of options for formatting messages, for structuring messages. You can even set up custom avatars and custom names. If you saw, our one app was impersonating all of you, right? So you each had your own custom avatar, you each had your own custom name, but that's all coming from one app, and it's customizing all of this through chat.postMessage. The second endpoint that I want to talk about is a little more arcane, rtm.start. So RTM stands for real-time messaging, and it's the primary way that bots connect to our server. It's also the way that our clients connect to our server. And so you call this endpoint in order to get a WebSocket endpoint that you'll connect to. It'll also give you a bunch of information on the state of the world within the Slack team that you're connecting to as well, so that you're up to speed as soon as you connect to the WebSocket. Which brings us to the second major component, the real-time API. This is where all the fun stuff happens. And as a matter of fact, you saw a demo of that with Allison's talk. She actually showed you some of the raw content coming down the real-time API. So it's based on WebSockets, so if you're familiar with WebSockets, this is great. This gives you a persistent two-way connection to our servers. And what we do with that is we provide an event stream. So every time the state of the team changes, we send something down, an event down that pipe to inform your code of that state change. So that state change might be a message was posted in a particular channel. But it also might be something like so-and-so joined the team, so-and-so joined the channel. A reaction was added to this existing message. File was uploaded, so on and so forth. And so, as you can imagine, it's quite the fire hose, especially on very busy teams. The rate of events that you're going to receive can be very, very high. Even on the one-person team that Allison demoed for us, you saw we're continually receiving Pong messages as we send pings out to keep that WebSocket connection alive. So be prepared for that. In return, I said it's a bi-directional channel of communication. You can post simple messages. It's not as powerful as chat.postMessage, but it's very, very fast. Which is its a chief benefit. So no attachments, no fancy formatting, but the latency for posting a message is incredibly low. So that's an overview of the Slack APIs. We're going to use it in this demo, and we'll come back and talk about the particular components of this that we used once you've actually seen them in action. Cool.
All right, let's get to the launch demo part. Okay, so we have all of our people in our Slack channel. All of you are participating. Let's just double check with Draw the Owl bot how many people are going to be a part of our launch. So we'll see, okay, 84 people. That's pretty solid. We got a good number of people in the room. First thing we want to do is we're going to open source a GitHub repository. So as I said, there's three things: GitHub repository, a new blog post on the Twilio blog, and a tweet from the Twilio account. And so the first thing we're going to say is, Draw the Owl bot, what's the number of GitHub stars on the bot that we're launching? Now, our bot name is called callbot. It's a subset of the code that we're using in this demo. It simply allows us to do the phone calling part, stand up a bot that can do phone calls from Slack. So we can say GitHub callbot. Now, Draw the Owl bot cannot see. It's just using the public GitHub API, so it cannot see this repository because it is still private. So I'm going to switch over into the GitHub, my GitHub account, which we can see this is still private here. I'll switch over into settings, and I'm going to make this into a public repository. So I'm going to say callbot. I understand, make this repository public. GitHub is going to confirm my password. I just press enter, and now we have a public repository with 0 stars on it. So if we say, hey, draw the owl bot, GitHub call bot, what we're going to see is, well, there's 1 star. Apparently someone already went to it. All right, nice. Well, let's get this into your hands a little bit easier here. I'm going to say draw the owl bot. Why don't you send an SMS to everybody who's a part of our launch, and please give this repo a star. And then we're going to get a link to the call bot. All right, so Slack unfurls that link. We get a text message. Now, the one thing to note is you may get a text message from a slightly different number. It's still going to be a 415 area code. I'm pooling a series of long codes together for throughput, since most Twilio long codes can only send 1 text message per second. I knew there was going to be a bunch of people in this room, and I wanted to make sure the demo was concise and short. Otherwise, it would take a long time to send all those messages. So just note that you'll get a text message from a slightly different number, potentially. All right, so now let's take a look. Actually, we can just ask draw the owl bot, hey, how many stars do we have on this? And we can see now there's 6 stars. If I go ahead and start, we've got 8 stars. So go ahead and keep starring that repository. Okay, so the second thing we want to launch is a blog post on the Twilio blog. So I'm going to go and refresh the Twilio blog, and let's see what's out there currently. Okay, we've got getting started with the Twilio programmable wireless on link it 1. And so I'm going to hit publish on this new blog post. What this blog post is going to have is an entire tutorial code walkthrough for our call bot. So if you are not really a Python developer, or you just want to know how this code works, this is a step-by-step tutorial so that you can work with callbot whether you stand it up on your own or start building on it. So if we go ahead and refresh the Twilio blog, we're going to see how to add phone calling bots to Slack with Python. And now here's our little custom design logo, and we've got an entire, I know I'm going to scroll through this very fast, so just an entire code walkthrough for this. And we'll send out a little tweet from the Twilio account, and then I'll SMS this to you in just one moment. So the pinned tweet was breakout sessions. We've got explore all things WebRTC, and I'm just going to send this one out through our social account. So we should see a new tweet come in. Yep, okay. So now we've got build a Python-powered Slack phone calling bot. So I'm going to just send this out to everyone in the room. First thing we want is to say, hey, draw the owl bot, SMS, blog post. Make sure the blog post looks good, and retweet this tweet. So I'll send the link to the actual tweet itself, the detailed look at the tweet, and then this is going to SMS out to everybody in the room. All right. Draw the owl bot says, hoot hoot, message is sent, good sir. And now everyone should be receiving a text message just as I did. Go ahead and hit retweet on that tweet, as I will right now. And then we're going to say to draw the owl bot, how many retweets and how many GitHub stars do we have? So draw the owl bot, GitHub on callbot, and we've got, oh wow, that's pretty good, 32 stars in like a couple minutes. And then draw the owl bot, how many retweets do we have on this tweet? It's going to go, say, 12 retweets. Let's keep pushing the retweets. Let's see if we can get this to be the most retweeted tweet out of the Twilio account. OK, so that's a little demo right now. Continue to star and retweet. And I'm just going to allow Don to continue here, explaining how that part of the demo worked.
So it's really rare for me to be staring at a phone while I'm giving a talk. That was kind of interesting. So now you've seen Draw the Owl bot in action. We've talked a little bit in the abstract about how the API is working, and I just want to talk a little bit more about how it's working in this particular instance, right? So, thank you. We're using Slack as the command line for all of this right now. So, of course, Matt here is connected to his Slack team on the desktop client. The desktop client uses both our web API and the real-time API to talk to the Slack servers, just the same as our the bots are doing. And our Draw the Owl bot, of course, has this persistent WebSocket connection to the server as well. And so what's happening is when Matt sends a message into the channel, this, of course, goes to our message server, registers a state change for the team, and it sends an event over the WebSocket to Draw the Owl bot. Because Draw the Owl bot is in the same channel that we're doing all of this, and so it can see these state changes. It notices that it's being @mentioned It knows what its name is, and so it sees the @mention there, filtering against that. It can then look at the contents of the message directly. And so we've got Draw the Owlbot programmed with keywords that it's watching for in these messages. So for example, if it sees GitHub in the keyword, it's going to be looking for a repo name to be following that. Right? So we've got this sort of conditional slide here. Yeah, okay, we'll get there in a moment. So it's got this whole conditional branch looking through the different kinds of commands that are coming in, and on the basis of that, it's doing any number of things with the Twilio API to send us these text messages. And then once we've taken action on this, he sends further commands to this bot, and it'll hit the GitHub API and the Twitter API and check on those, and it'll send responses back again through the WebSocket API to post those messages into the Slack channel. That sounds super complex. It's actually relatively straightforward, and the Python code, as you'll see if you go to the GitHub repository, is actually very straightforward. So now that we've talked about how to build a bot, I'd like to talk just a little bit more about how to build a great bot. So you've heard Alex's talk earlier today, which was just really awesome. Some great points to think about from a product point of view, especially about how to build a bot. Allison also had some really great tips. I've got my own take on this, of course. And the first thing that I want to emphasize is that think about automating tedious tasks. Like ordering a pizza is not really a tedious task, although it could be made awfully tedious, right, if you don't do it the right way. On the other hand, sending each and every one of you a text message, that's a tedious task, and that's easily automated. So when you're thinking about designing a bot, when you're thinking about designing a workflow that involves a bot, think about the kinds of tedious tasks that don't have to be tedious and automate them. A great bot gets out of the way, right? So a great bot doesn't pepper you with conversation. A great bot isn't cheeky to you when it doesn't really understand what's going on. Instead, a great bot acts on your interactions with it, and it reports back as necessary. And then that's the end of it, because once you finish the task, you really don't want to hear a joke. Not from a bot, anyway, maybe from us. And it should assist when things fail, right? Your bot is going to end up in a place where it doesn't know what's going on. It's getting input that it doesn't know what to do with. Maybe the user is deeply confused about what's going on. This often happens. Maybe it ends up in this crazy cycle where it just can't get out of it. And you should design your bots thinking about what failure modes look like, because it's that point that's going to be make or break for your bot, right? If you don't handle failure modes in a clean way, users will stop using your bot, full stop, right? So the right way to handle failure modes is to assist the user out of them, to explain to them that you're in a spot where things are not making sense, to suggest to the user steps that they can take to get out of that state. And in extreme cases, maybe even involve a human operator, just like a Growbot does, to help the user get back to a state where they understand what's going on and they're achieving success with that bot. But the key takeaway here is, we've said this over and over in these sessions, and this is really centrally important to everything we do. For every interaction you design, every interaction, ask yourself, is this making your customers' working lives simpler, more pleasant, and more productive? And if it's not, cut the interaction, or transform it into something that is working for making your working lives simpler, more pleasant, and more productive.
All right, so let's check the results of our demo. So we'll just ask Draw the Owlbot, hey, what's the number of retweets on our tweet? 32, that is awesome. And GitHub, callbot. And just to say, as Don was saying, like, make sure it gives you context for if you mess something up. If I just give Draw the Owlbot a bunch of garbage information, it's going to actually tell me the number of, tell me the keywords that I can actually use. So real quick, I'm just going to send out to all of you. I have a transcription with all the slides of this talk. So I'm going to SMS this out to everyone. This also will contain, let's see, I'll just say blog post on talk. This SMS out to everyone. And this also contains a bunch of resources for building a Slack bot, SMS-based Slack bot, voice-based Slack bot, all those things. So I just want to say that was pretty awesome. Thank you all for participating. I'm just going to end this demo with a little, if you could just turn your ringers on real quick. Everyone just turn your ringer on. Call everyone in the room. And you're going to get a phone call. Pick that phone call up and put it on speakerphone. And I just want to give everyone a little congratulations. Everyone is on mute except for me. That's just one thing about it. So thank you all for participating in the demo. That was pretty awesome. Thank you for all the retweets and the stars.
Thanks, y'all.
So we can't wait to see what bots you build. My name is Matt Makai, developer evangelist with Twilio.
Don Goodman Wilson from Slack.
Thank you all very much.